It's a funny question because if I had known some of the things that I didn't know at the beginning of the campaign, I might not have agreed to do the campaign because it was really hard. It took a really long time and we didn't win. I worked harder on that municipal campaign than I've worked on all of the other campaigns I've done in my life added up together because the campaign was so amazingly long and hard. And so it's good that I didn't know how hard it was going to be, probably, because I would not have put myself through a year of it, you know, as a volunteer for, in terms of the time it takes away from your family and work and everything else. So with that caveat, I would say here are some things that are interesting to think about. One is, where are your lists going to come from? How are you going to decide which doors to knock on and how you're going to capture the information you glean from knocking on those doors? Are you going to build a list from scratch with a blank sheet of paper? Because we registered on January 2nd and didn't get a voters list until September. So what do you do during those months that you're knocking on doors and collecting data and saying, oh yeah, that nice middle-aged man at 48 Irwin said that he would support me, but I think his name was either Dave or Dan, and his wife seemed nice, but I'm not sure that I can count on her, and how am I going to capture that data and actually put it in a database that will eventually be merged with the official voters list? And again, this is an issue if you're not an incumbent. You aren't starting with a sign list, a donors list, a list of ID'd supporters. So thinking about how you can borrow or obtain lists or build lists and allow for version control and merging, that's something that I think is a lot more important than you might realize on day one of a campaign. Some of the other things, it's important to remember that nobody is as vested in the success of your campaign as your candidate and your core team, and there will be times where nobody else is doing anything for your campaign other than, in my case it was myself as campaign manager and the candidate. For the first 4 months or so, generally speaking, if something was happening, it was because one of the two of us was doing it. It's hard to ask your friends, it's hard to ask strangers to do things for you when election day is 6 or 8 months away and nobody's really thinking about it yet. But you have to do the work. If you aren't putting in the time, you won't be able to catch up with the incumbent with all the advantages they have. And I guess the last thing that I would say is important to think about is, what are the different aspects of incumbency advantage and how can you mitigate them to the extent possible? Because you will get frustrated with the things that are just not fair about the campaign. And if you let that frustration bring you to a negative place where you're not doing your best work and you're not motivated to try really hard because you think that you just can't win, that's really going to hurt you in your campaign because your team's going to pick up on it, and it's just not productive. So think about the different ways that the incumbent has an advantage and how you can negate some of that advantage with your own strategy and tactics.